Let me quickly show you guys something. Then we can just do one. Yeah, because it's a big deal actually. I've been noticed I mentioned the data governance maturity assessment. Many times you can come to an organization and say, I want to assess your data governance maturity in general. And you can let them know the areas, the section they can do better immediately based on their responses. You can know and tell, okay, this is an area they can improve, this is where the gaps are, and you can give them good feedback and recommendation immediately. Okay. So that's for the, but let me take one more, then we just do the two together. Let's go to, okay, we talk about data governance. Let's go to GDPR. GDPR is very similar. The only difference is that it's European, right? So, but the gist is it's similar to the privacy we talked about yesterday. All right, let's talk about GDPR then. So we have two to work on after this. Okay, let's go to GDPR real quick. All right. General Data Protection Regulation. This is the framework that sets guidelines for collection and processing of personal information from individuals who live in European Union. It was enforced May 25th, 2018. So they don't play games. Let me just put it that way. The European Union don't play games with their data. It is a big deal. Big organizations are fined crazy. A few months ago, I recollect, I think Facebook was fined about 1.3 billion euro, if I recollect, something like that. So they don't play games. And the funny thing is that once a fine like that comes up, check the company. I bet you in a few months, you'll see a layoff. So you wonder why layoff? They got to find a way to cut the money somewhere. Yeah. So if you take 1.3 billion euro from your shareholders or your board, in their head, they have to find a way to get it back. So no surprise that when they start laying off. What are the key principles of GDPR? Let's talk about it. Lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. What it's saying is that your personal data must be processed lawfully in a fair manner and transparent. You know, so the key points is that your data should only be processed if there's a legal basis for doing it. That's it, nothing else. And all individuals must be informed how their data would be used. So some best practice, you have to be clear in terms of your privacy notices, obtain explicit consent for data processing when required, and ensure data processing agreements are in place, or else it can easily lead to class action suits for big organization. Purpose limitation is another big one, you know, meaning your personal data should only be collected for specific, explicit, and legitimate purposes only. So it means it's not going to be broadly used. The purpose must be spelled out and very, very streamlined upfront. Okay. Data minimization, this is similar to what we had in our privacy earlier on. You know, we should only use what is necessary in relation to what we intend to use it for. That's it. So it's a big deal. Data minimization, only use or request for what is needed at any point in time. Accuracy, the data should be accurate and when necessary, kept up to date. So it means we should have a process in place to constantly review for data accuracy within our environment. And if there is a gap, immediately update to rectify such gaps. Storage limitation, it means at any point in time, we need to spell it out. Your personal data should be kept in a form which permits identification of the data subject for no longer than necessary, for only the purpose in which the data was processed. So it means it's not unending, for you to keep my data. There should be a limit. There should be a retention period that is based on legal and business requirements. After those terms have ended, The expectation is either you delete those information based on your standard operating procedure, your policy. So it has to be limited. So you're not just going to hold my data forever. No. Integrity and confidentiality, we can agree. At the end of the day, we have to make sure all our data should be processed with appropriate security in mind. And, if there was a potential breach, you should protect my data from such at any point. And if it happens, you need to report it. Some best practices, we need to make sure there is encryption for data in transit and data at rest. So remember again, can we all type this if you don't mind? Can we type data at rest and data in transit? Let me see if we can do that. Can we type data at rest and data in transit? For those of us that like basketball, just remember this: rest, then transit. Data at rest, data in transit. Let's talk about that for a second. All right, let's think about it this way, ladies and gentlemen. Um, Anytime you hear the word data at rest, the data is static. It's just kept. It's still important to make sure encryption is available even when at rest, right? So if my data is stolen while it's still sitting on my database, there should be no way you can still steal my take my data. In transit, we can all understand. I'm sending the data to you. I send you an email or I send you a file. I want to make sure it's encrypted, right? So that no malicious actor can just steal the data. That's fair. But also, data at rest is very, very critical. Okay. But those are big things you will hear, mostly data at rest, data in transit. Don't overthink it. All it's saying is that data is static, data is moving. That's all. No big deal. All right. Okay, let's go to the next one. Accountability, big deal, big deal, big deal. This is one of the reasons we have a data controller, who is responsible for and must be able to demonstrate compliance with other data protection principles. So there's always a data controller in general. You can see a best practice, what we did yesterday, conduct data protection impact assessment and appoint a data protection officer. Can we all put DPO? Haha. In some countries, DPO means something else for police department, deputy police officer, something like that. But this DPO is data protection officer. It's a good practice for most, and sometimes it's a role. It's not necessarily a job title. It's a role. So they could make you and I function in that role. Okay, so just be mindful of that. So it doesn't mean I have to get a budget and go and hire a DPO. Ideally, if I have the budget, fine, but many times somebody will perform in that role. Okay. All right, some key security for GDPR compliance. Of course, we can agree, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're getting to the security part of it. Encryption, right? That is foundation, right? If you are sending data, I hope it's encrypted. I think we can all agree on that one. Access control, ladies and gentlemen, at least before you access my data, you know, you should be authorized to access it. Do you use multi-factor authentication? Is it based on role-based access? And also, are we frequently reviewing and updating access permission, right? So if you are the administrator here, are you supposed to be the administrator? Do we have multiple administrators that are not supposed to be there? Those are the things I'm thinking of at any point in time. Data breach response, very important. Always remember again, what is the process to respond if there was a breach? Very, very key. What's our process to respond for, to a breach? So we have to have a data breach response plan or an incident response plan, a timely notification, and there should be continuous breach response drill. So there should be a drill. Some people call it like a tabletop exercise where there's going to be constant drill in case there's a actual breach. We did this yesterday, data protection impact assessment, to identify and mitigate data protection risks, similar to what we did yesterday. And pseudonymization, this is a data management and the identification procedure by which our PII field within a data record are replaced by one or more artificial identifiers. So many times you'll see some companies will kind of scramble their personal identification information so that there's no way you can know what it means. So it's a way to kind of, mess with the data so that nobody would know, even if it's compromised, they will not be able to figure it out. And some of us, I'm not saying do it, but some people, sometimes some jobs will ask you, put your last four digits of your social security. Never do it. But if you decide to even do anything like that, scramble the number in a way, just put a fake number for, because you don't know if it's a scammer that is trying to play games with you. So, but that's the same concept, the identification procedure whereby you can mess around so that nobody can easily, steal your customers' PII. Regular security audits, very important. Assessments, audits are very good ways to see potential gaps within your environment. Training and awareness, I think we can't overstate this. It's so critical and important to continuously train your users because humans are typically the weakest link. So it's very, very important to continuously train the users, your employees at any point in time. All right. So some good practice for GDPR specifically, you can see develop a GDPR program, conduct risk assessment, ensure data subject rights, and risk assessment, you can see it comes up all the time. Ensure data subject right, meaning we have to ensure the process to handle the subject request, the access, the rectification, the erasure. If there's a issue, they can always make complaint and you need to make changes, maintain accurate records, implement technical and organizational measures such as your encryption and access control we talked about already, monitor and review compliance, we've talked about this too, engage with third parties. So sometimes if you have third parties collecting your customers' record, because you have third party does not make you less liable. You are still liable. So you need to make sure on behalf of your client, they also comply with GDPR. You know, it has to be part of their contract. So there's no confusion there. So my third party must also be in compliance with GDPR. As simple as that. All right, cool. So let's pause here.